Would like to thank everyone for their patience. I know we're getting kind of a late start this evening. Normally we drop videos around noon or 1 p.m. Unfortunately, had some things going on in my life today that could not be avoided, but we do have a fantastic video on tap for you guys. Would also like to say a big thank you to those who have joined us over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. It has directly to do, by the way, with today's video, what we talk about over there for $1 per month, even less if you sign up for an entire year. What do we talk about? Psychological operations. How governments and alphabet agencies and those in the media use tricks of psychology to make you believe they're doing something when they're really not doing anything. And I think you guys are going to want to see this video because it has to do with the UFO phenomenon, or what they're referring to as unidentified aerial phenomenon. You see, there's a word in there that once they say it, you need to stop listening because it gives them an out. 24 cognitive biases, 24 logical fallacies. When you study these and you know these inside and out and you memorize them and you train with them, you'll be able to see this stuff coming a mile away. Would love to have you guys join us. It's fully refundable. First 90 days. If you don't believe the content that's over there is worth your $1 per month, send it right back to you. No questions asked. Now, I'd like to show you guys 4 pictures here and ask if anyone can figure out what these 4 pictures have in common. They all are a pen. Upper left, of course, a jail, a prison is often referred to as the pen. This obviously is a pen. This is an animal pen. And down here, a female swan is known as a pen. This is semantics. It's all the same word, but it means different things. Just like these phenomenon that we see in our sky. Unidentified aerial phenomenon. There's been an announcement made that later this month, there's going to be an open hearing where they address in Washington, D.C., this idea of unidentified aerial phenomenon, what might be out there. Well, when you hear the word unidentified, it gives them an out. What are you talking about, Maquis? If they don't know what it is, it's unidentified. Unidentified to whom? You see, they may very well know what the Tic Tac craft is. And if they do, it's no longer unidentified to them, is it? They may not know what the Tic Tac craft is, but they may know what the saucers are. In which case, the same thing applies. It's no longer an unidentified aerial phenomenon to them, therefore they don't have to address it at the briefing. You see, this is semantics. This is the game they play. They may know a little bit of something about all of these things, and maybe not everything, and maybe more about some and less about the other. But one thing's for sure, even if they know one little thing about it, it's no longer unidentified to them. And that's the key. It's called semantics. It's a form of psychological operations. One of the things they teach you in the military as an interrogator, in fact, it's the first thing they teach you, is to phrase your questions properly. If you were to go to one of these meetings and say, Senator whoever, what do you know about UFOs or UAPs? Well, he'd say, what's a UFO or UAP? It's an unidentified thing. Well, if he has just had a briefing on what those things are, to him, they're not unidentified. So he can say, I really don't know. I don't have any information for you on unidentified aerial phenomenon. It's called ambiguity fallacy. When an unclear phrase with multiple definitions is used within the argument, therefore does not support the conclusion. Some will say single words count for the ambiguity fallacy, which is really a specific form of a fallacy known as equivocation. Here's another great example from a movie I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Who remembers Predator, the movie, from 1987. The plot is, of course, you have the alien out in the jungle, and he's hunting this team. But why was the team there to begin with, out in the jungle? Well, you see the guy in the middle, Carl Weathers, he works for the CIA. This is, of course, well, it's Carl Weathers. His character's name was Dylan. And he cooks up a story. He tells his buddy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dutch, that it's basically a search and rescue mission. There's some people that have been lost, and they need to find them and bring them back. Well, really, it's a search and destroy mission. They're looking for a Russian base hidden in the jungle, but he doesn't tell him that. Now, what's the ambiguity fallacy? Well, when Dutch figures out the game, Dylan comes to him and says, "Nobody told me there was an operation in this area." He uses very specific language. He says, "Nobody told me there was an operation in this area." You see, it didn't mean that somebody didn't walk into the room and accidentally drop a file on the ground that contained all of the information about the operations in that area. He said nobody told him. Once again, it is a cheap game of semantics, but believe me, they use this all the time. Here's the media advisory, Tuesday, 17 May, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. House Intelligence, Counterterrorism, Counterintelligence, and Counterproliferation Subcommittee to hold open hearing on unidentified aerial phenomena. That's where I stop reading. Unidentified. If they're going to talk about things that to them are unidentified, then there's just going to be a bunch of people yammering on about things that may or may not be out there. Nothing's going to be revealed, because if they revealed any specific information, what would that mean? Now the hearing has moved from being on unidentified aerial phenomena to partially identified or wholly identified aerial phenomena. And that's not what they've announced. You see, I love this quote here at the bottom. It's like, "There's still much to learn about unidentified aerial phenomena and the potential risks they may pose to our national security. But one thing's for sure, the American people deserve full transparency, and the federal government and intelligence community have a critical role to play in contextualizing and analyzing reports of UAPs, unidentified," said Chairman Schiff. "The purpose of this hearing is to give the public an opportunity to hear directly from the subject matter experts and leaders in the intelligence, blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah." See, back in 71, they took a picture. Accidentally. Didn't mean to. Over Costa Rica. Well, they were meant to take the picture. They didn't know they were going to capture this silver disc-shaped craft. This is one of the big oopsie daisies that was ever pulled off. It's a little tiny plane that had a really good camera that was taking a picture of an area where they were going to build some type of a reactor facility. And the craft didn't know that plane was up there or that it even had that level of a camera on it. See, to me, this is something that our government knows about. Because if it truly were an advanced civilization, they wouldn't have allowed themselves to get photographed this clearly. Most of these move way too fast for that anyway. Now, this plane was way, way, way up over Costa Rica. But this is the point. This is the games they play. I know it seems like it might be too simple, but sometimes it just isn't anything more complicated than that. Cognitive biases, logical fallacies, and how they use it. Four very distinct things all can mean the same thing. Four very distinct things can be generally referred to as UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them. And the government, those in the intelligence community, will love to have hearings like this. Especially when you hear the word unidentified. When you hear that word coming out of the mouth of a government or alphabet agency official, stop listening. Because when they talk about things that are unidentified, they don't mean unidentified to you or me. They mean unidentified to them. And if they have any level of identification or knowledge of any of this, they no longer qualify as unidentified phenomenon. Therefore, in these hearings, they don't have to discuss them. It's a game of semantics. Just like Dylan played with Dutch. It was just a game. He cooked up a story and, like said in the movie, dropped him into a meat grinder. There was a mission that needed done, and he used him as an expendable asset. A lot of people missed that line. No one told me there was an operation in the area. The first time I heard that, I was like, okay, somebody's parsing words here. Nobody told me. See, he didn't say I didn't know of any operation or I was unaware of any operation. He said nobody told me. Very specific language. Ambiguous, but effective at ending the conversation. So, anyway, I will leave it there. But this is what we talk about over Patreon. This is the kind of important thing that in communications, especially online or social media, people need to be armed with this knowledge, this ability to determine and decipher this type of stuff, or you're just going to be lost. And they will send you down a road wherever they want you. So I will leave it there. God bless. Thank you once again for your patience. Once again, would really love to have as many of you over there at Patreon as we can get. It definitely makes a difference. The balance between here and YouTube, especially going into the next 6 months up to the midterms, it's going to be very, very critical because they're starting to put their foot on the throat of people, and you guys can make a difference. People standing up and making choices like this, especially for $1 makes a difference. I very much appreciate all of you who have shown up over there and put your money where your mouth is. It means more to me than you know. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.